Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Daybreak. I'm Jillian Musser.
And I'm Anthony Durzo. Today we have several in-studio reporters ready to give you all you need to know about what's been going on in the Burgh this week.
Make sure you stick around to catch up on Steeler season during Sam's Sideline Slice with reporter Samuel Parator.
And PolitiSmacks this week, political news with reporter Addison Deal.
Wake up and smell the coffee, Pittsburgh. Daybreak starts right now.
Welcome back. Let's get started with your campus news. Here's your weekly weather update with Alexa Shawless.
Thanks, Anthony and Jillian. As sad as it seems, summer weather is almost certainly behind us. Coming up this week, don't expect too many sunny skies. The highs this week won't even crack the 70s, with Wednesday being the highest temperature at 68 degrees. Though there is little expectation for rain showers, there will be lots of partly and mostly cloudy skies throughout the week. Enjoy the little bits of sun while you can get them, because winter weather seems to be on its way early. Any thoughts from our hosts?
I mean, I don't mind the cold weather, but I'd like to see some sun, because I'd like to think when I'm outside, I'm starting to get my tan back that I lost from, a few months not being outside.
No, it's not for me, Chief. I cannot with the cold weather. The seasonal depression kicks right in, that first winter breeze.
But see, I like being in hoodies and long pants. That's my kind of season.
I'm a shorts person.
Really?
I like the shorts, it's a vibe.
I kind of like the shorts sometimes too, not gonna lie.
It works.
Thanks for the updates, Alexa.
Before we get started with this week's campus news, here's reporter Kalyan Winder with a scoop on the newest exhibition to join the Carnegie Museum of Art.
The 58th Carnegie International Exhibition, in partnership with the Next Pittsburgh, held its next celebration party on September 22nd at the Carnegie Museum of Art. The title of this expedition is It Morning for You Yet?, alluding to the main questions critics have towards art today. Where is art going, and how does modern art compare to the impactful movements of the past? The exhibition does a crossover between historical works and recent contemporary works. The show has nearly 80 institutions and artists showcased from around the globe and native to Pittsburgh. Notably, artists were LaToya Ruby Frazier, a Pittsburgh-born artist using photographic installations focusing on health workers in Baltimore, Maryland. Kate Millett, a contemporary sculpturist and activist from Paris, focusing on the idea of entrapment of marginalized groups and condemning those in power keeping the systems complicit. Bandu Sintolu, a Turkish artist, turns 10 out of the 30 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights into balloons that deflate over time, tackling the idea of impertinence of ideas and documents as time change. Other artists include Hiromi Tsuri, Margarita Azurdia, Igusti Ayukadek, and Mira Lee. If you're passionate about artistic values and the concepts behind them, or just appreciate art in its entirety, I check out the Carnegie Museum of Art to watch the installations and learn more about the art and the artists themselves.
Last year around this time, a popular TikTok trend was circulating the internet. Students from schools across the country were damaging and stealing school property. Students here at Point Park University may be feeling major deja vu. One of the more odder emails received this week is regarding missing plates in the dining hall. Although we started out the year with 1,000, there are now only 47. This has been frustrating for a lot of dining hall goers due to a lot of the options requiring bowls. Unless you want to continue eating cereal off of a plate, for those who have stolen the dishes, please return them.
Registration for Family Weekend will close after this upcoming weekend on Tuesday. Point Park University Dean of Student Life, Michael Gisak, sent an email to all Point Park students with a reminder that if they plan to attend Family Weekend, they must sign up quick. This year's Family Weekend will begin Friday, October 7th and conclude Sunday, October 9th. Families will have the opportunity to attend events such as fall dance concert, musical theater performances, and much more. For more information on events, head on over to pointpark.edu or contact the Department of Student Life.
Point Park students walking around campus might have noticed a change by Village Park. If you walk up the Boulevard of Allies, you'll be greeted by trailers parked on both sides of the road. A new season is currently being filmed in our home of downtown Pittsburgh. What is being filmed is The Mayor of Kingstown, Season 2, for the streaming service Paramount+. The series stars Jeremy Renner, Toby Bafita, Diane West Taylor, Handalia, Aidan Gillen, and Emma Laird. The executive producer is Pittsburgh's own Antonio Fuquay.
I'm really curious as to what is happening with these plates.
I'm wondering. I have been so
I
frustrated.
mean, why would you just take a plate from the cafeteria? Like, what are you going to use it for?
There's no point to it. Like, I would understand, like, the salt shakers or, like, the pepper shakers, because people have been doing that, but why do you want a plate?
I don't know. Just people are weird.
My tuition is paying for this. Please return the plates.
Oh, jeez.
I can't. Coming up after the break, we'll dive into this week's Pittsburgh news.
We'll also hear from our reporters Juliana Brock and Brandon Kruzowski.
Don't go anywhere. Daybreak. We'll be right back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening and welcome back to Newsnight. Most of the student body of the Pittsburgh Public School.
Some of the United States allies.
Thursday, the FBI was seen raiding.
Let's get started with today's forecast.
Today's high will only reach about 31 degrees.
It's looking a little cooler than we've seen in the past few weeks.
All this and more
All this and more
All this and more coming up on Newsnight.
coming up on Newsnight.
coming up on Newsnight.
Welcome back to Daybreak.
Without further ado, here is your city news.
Construction on the Smithfield Street Bridge has begun and now has lane restrictions for a bridge preservation project. According to PennDOT, the project will consist of repairs to the steel components as well as deficiencies in the floor beam and girder webs. Being replaced are both sidewalks, the bridge deck epoxy. The project is currently in phase 1, where northbound and southbound traffic will travel on the west roadway of the bridge while repairs are made on the east deck overlay and sidewalk. For phase 2, northbound traffic will travel on the east roadway while southbound traffic will travel in the left lane of the west roadway. This is so crews can repair the west deck overlay and sidewalk, as well as the right southbound lane on the west roadway. And during phase 3, northbound traffic will remain on the east roadway, but southbound traffic will be on the right southbound lane for repairs to the left southbound lane. There is no official date to when the project will conclude.
An uprising drug crisis that is spreading fast. Drug traffickers are now making pills known as rainbow fentanyl. This drug is one of many affecting the opioid crisis. In fact, overdoses are up more than 80%. A school in Los Angeles is now keeping Narcan, the overdose reversing drug, in their classroom. Girls have taken to TikTok, encouraging others to keep some in their purses. Here is how fentanyl lines up with other drugs. It is 100 times more powerful than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin. Just a quarter of a milligram could be fatal. Drug traffickers are marketing it as candy. This is why most victims who die of fentanyl poisoning have no idea. This sweetheart drug has been found in 21 states, including Pennsylvania. Over the past 4 months, the DEA has seized over 10 million pills and 1,000 pounds of powder fentanyl. With Halloween coming up just around the corner, make sure to be safe. Do not take anything that is not in its original packaging. If you are concerned that something is laced, fentanyl testing strips are $1 each and Narcan spray is $60. Both are available on Amazon.
Pittsburgh police have issued an arrest warrant for a woman wanted for killing a 6-year-old boy after striking the child with her vehicle while he was riding his bike. The fatal collision happened at the 730 block of Johnson Avenue in Pittsburgh's Glen Hazel neighborhood on July 26th. According to Pittsburgh Borough of Police, officers in Zone 4 responded to a report of an accident involving a child hit by a vehicle at approximately 8:21 in the evening. Police say when they arrived on scene, officers immediately began performing CPR until EMS arrived to take the boy to a local hospital where he later died of his injuries. An investigation was then conducted by the Pittsburgh Police Collision Investigation Unit. Now the suspect, 63-year-old Rhonda Wood, who stayed on scene after the collision, is wanted on charges of homicide by vehicle, involuntary manslaughter, careless driving, and a stop sign violation.
No, I was really concerned when I read about this rainbow fentanyl because it could apply to anybody, like especially really little kids.
I can't believe it's gotten to the point where teachers now have to keep Narcan in their classrooms in
crazy.
case. I never would have thought it would have gotten to that point.
Well, with me having like a little sister, I'm terrified because they're now putting it in like regular candy packaging. So I'm afraid like she'll get some.
Yeah, how do you know?
You don't know.
It's very difficult.
Now that you've heard from us, let's hear more about what's happening in the Steel City from some of our reporters.
Take it away, Juliana.
Thanks, Anthony and Jillian. An unfortunate turn of events went down on Saturday, September 24th at Pittsburgh's favorite amusement park, Kennywood. The annual Phantom Fall Fest was just beginning as Saturday was the opening night. According to KDKA, 3 people, including 2 15-year-olds, were hit with bullets when a shooting occurred right outside the Music Express ride. One of the victims is 39 years old and suffered a bullet to the back of his left leg, just missing his main artery. One of the teens suffered a wound to his leg, and another one had a bullet graze his leg. Luckily, all of the victims are okay. It is said that a male in a black hoodie and COVID mask was responsible for the shots fired, and that a handgun, allegedly stolen from Ohio, was found near the scene. There is talk of new and enhanced security for the park, including increased police support, perimeter enhancements, and a new bag policy. As Kennywood plans to reopen this weekend, they said, quote, "We will continue consulting with law enforcement on additional safety measures to implement," end quote. Now I'll send it over to reporter Brandon Krasowski.
I'm Brandon Krasowski here with your news happening in the Pittsburgh region. On Sunday, September 25th, more than 7,000 people raced in the 45th annual Pittsburgh Great Race. The race started in Oakland and finished at Point State Park. For the second consecutive year, Squirrel Hill native Nick Wolk came in first place with the race with a time of 29 minutes and 58 seconds. A 5K race was also held, with Ohio runner Clay Burnett finishing first place for the 4th consecutive year. Pittsburgh's north side is losing business because of an uptick in violence in the area. According to WPXI, business owners and employees have been the victims of crimes over the past couple of weeks. On top of that, trash has also been an issue because of the homeless encampments in the area. According to the Northside Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Gina Groen, she also stated in a recent interview that at least 2 small businesses may not re-sign their leases in the area. This is just one of the areas in the city that faces trouble, just like Pittsburgh's South Side, which experienced many issues such as shootings that resulted in businesses leaving. Speaking of the South Side, police are investigating an investigation into a shooting in the area that damaged several vehicles. According to the Tribune Review, the shooting happened around 1 a.m. on 18th Street. No one was injured in the shooting, but this is just one of the many incidents that happened in the Pittsburgh South Side over the past few months. Increasing of police and alternative traffic patterns have helped curb violence in the area, but the area still remains a high point of concern, especially on the busy weekends. Now, back to our host.
Thank you, Brandon and Juliana. Coming up after the break, we'll hear about our Pittsburgh sports with Samuel Parator on this week's edition of Sam's Sideline Slice.
Then reporter Addison Deal with PolitiSmack, this week's political news.
Don't forget to stay tuned to the end to hear this week's Ray of Sunshine.
Daybreak will be right back.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Daybreak. My name is Samuel Parator and I am finally back with Sam's Sideline Slice, where I get you the inside scoop on what happened this past week and what to expect in the next one. Today's topic is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. We will catch you up on the offseason and how the season has gone so far and preview next week. So buckle up because this one's going to be a ride. This offseason was going to be one of big changes for the Steelers team. At the conclusion of last season, the franchise quarterback and future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger had called it a career, so for the first time in 18 years, the Steelers were going to see a new face under center. There were essentially two options that we could have gone with this change. We could take a look into free agency, kind of see what we could find, or we could draft one. Well, Pittsburgh decided, why not do both? And that's exactly what we did. We brought in Mitch Trubisky in free agency, who had spent 5 years in the league, 4 as a starter in Chicago, and 1 as a backup in Buffalo. And in this year's draft, we decided to take Pittsburgh product Kenny Pickett, who had led the Pitt Panthers to an ACC championship the year prior. We also have longtime backup Mason Rudolph still, so don't forget that part either. This led to a lot of questions in Pittsburgh as to which one would get the start. All three of them had battled for the spot during training camp and the preseason and looked fairly strong in their own rights, but they would end up making the decision we all expected and went with Mitch Trubisky for the starting job this season, much to the chagrin of most of the fans who kind of wanted to see Kenny Pickett after he showed out pretty strong in the preseason. Well, now here we are 3 weeks into the regular season, and this offense is struggling to say the least. We haven't even reached 900 yards of total offense and have only scored 4 offensive touchdowns in total, 2 of them coming from last game. We sit at a record of 1-2, and that one win was more of a lucky survival than anything, and Yinzers everywhere have been calling for the head of offensive coordinator Matt Canada, and you can hear the Kenny chants as they call for the rookie to come in and try to turn the tide. There is glaringly low level of confidence in Canada's play calling, not only among fans, but is also rumored to be within the ranks of the organization as well. It is hard to predict what will happen, but all that I do know is that something needs to change because right now, things look pretty abysmal. They will look for a bounce back this weekend as the New York Jets, who also sit at 1-2, come to town. It'll be very important to grab a win and get back to 500, kind of build some morale and confidence up before we see a brutal stretch of games that will include the Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Miami Dolphins, who are all very big threats right now. That is all for me, hoping the Steelers can get back on the winning path soon and this offense can step up and finally produce for this team, or else it is going to be a very long season for Yinzer Nation. Now let's send it over to Addison Deal for this week's PolitiSmack.
Thanks, Sam. I'm Addison Deal, and this is PolitiSmack. President Joe Biden released a plan to end hunger in the United States by the end of the next decade during the first Health and Nutrition Conference at the White House in 50 years. Due to the increasing rates of inflation in this country, as well as the unemployment rate rising, hunger is one of the biggest problems facing the U.S. at the current moment. The bill focuses on increasing access to healthy foods and expanding nutrition resources, as well as promoting lower sodium and sugar rates in processed goods. Along with this, there is a controversial part of the bill that will expand the food stamps program and force Medicare to cover medically tailored meals. This section of the bill will require a congressional hearing, which makes the passing of the bill difficult with the level of division in Congress today. Biden said in the conference, quote, "In every country in the world, in every state in the country, no matter what else divides us, if a parent cannot feed a child, there's nothing else that matters to that parent," end quote. Funding for this bill totals at approximately $8 billion, largely donated from private corporations such as Google, Tyson Foods, and Walgreens. In other national news, President Biden also decided to continue the cap on immigrants entering the country in the next 12 months at a 125,000 maximum. This comes after 4 years of ex-President Donald Trump's continuous decreasing of the maximum amount of immigrants. While many refugee advocacy groups praise Biden for this decision, it comes with the urging of the president to make the processing of immigrants much faster. Last year had the same maximum of 125,000, however, only 20,000 were actually processed through the administration. This processing issue is largely due to the dismantling that many refugee advocacy and support groups suffered in the last 4 years. Many groups are calling to President Biden to add funding and support for said groups, but no official plans for such have been made. Anthony, what do you guys think about these issues?
Well, I'm really glad they signed the bill for ending hunger, because nobody should ever go hungry. I think it's really important that we provide to others.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely see it a lot around the city of Pittsburgh. And like what Brandon was saying, it may take care of that encampment issue that we're having around the city. So I definitely think it's important for us for the president to take a hold of right now.
I definitely agree. And I'm glad that it's an emphasis on healthy foods as well, because you want to make sure the good foods are getting out there to people so that they can stay healthy and happy.
Right. I also like to hear that the big corporations like Google, they're funding this as well, which is really good to hear. All right. Well, thanks so much, Addison. Now it's time you've all been waiting for.
Here's this week's Ray of Sunshine.
In case this is your first time joining us or you need a refresher, Ray of Sunshine is our way of starting your day with a smile and an inspirational quote.
As we enter the fall season, we're starting to notice all the changes happening around us. So this week's quote is about the importance of change.
The quote comes from former United States President John F. Kennedy and reads, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only on the past or present are certain to miss the future." I really agree with that.
Oh, I just love JFK in general. He was such a good president. Gone too soon.
Definitely.
And I know personally for me, change is something I struggle with a lot. Something as simple as this. So I feel like if we can all remember just to go into it with an open mind, everything will be a little bit better.
Absolutely. Well, that is all for this episode of Daybreak. Thank you all so much for watching.
You can catch clips from all of our previous Daybreak episodes on our YouTube at UView Television.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Daybreak PPU. Till next time, I'm Anthony Durzo.
And I'm Jillian Musser, hoping your news is great news. See you next week, everyone.